Welcome to Duo Chat with Brittany
and Cynthia, where we talk about drama shows.
like Dawson's Creek, One Tree Hill, and more.
Hi everyone, I'm Brittany,
And I'm Cynthia.
and today we're talking about season 1, episode 16, titled The First Cut is the Deepest. Air date March 2nd, 2004, and the synopsis is.
Dan must choose which parent to live with after Dan and Deb's divorce.
You mean Nathan must choose?
What did I just say?
You said Dan must choose who
darn it.
he should live with.
I meant Nathan. Yeah, Nathan has to choose who he wants to live with. And then Dan forces Nathan to make the decision by threatening to reveal Deb's darkest secret in court unless Nathan chooses him. Meanwhile, Lucas meets a beautiful stranger who challenges his perceptions of life since his car accident. Okay, so it starts at school with them being outside. Dan sees Brooke and calls to her, and Brooke just gives her a look and keeps walking. And then Jake walks up to Peyton. He asks what's the latest. She says, boy meets girl, girl does what she wants, boy starts dating girl's best friend, girl ruins everything. Jake asks if there's anything he can do. Payne says no, the story pretty much ends there.
So I liked when Jake asked Peyton if she would watch his little girl, Jenny, while he goes to a wedding because he barely even knows her.
Right.
I mean,
but-
would you just leave your kid though with a stranger? I mean, someone that you just met?
Well, she's not really entirely a stranger. They've been at the same school for a while. It's just they just started talking now.
That doesn't mean, yeah, but this is your daughter.
Yeah, well, she took good care of her before during practice, I guess. Yeah, and I don't know. You just trust her.
You really must trust her because that's just kind of weird. It's not like you've, been hanging out for a long time and any of this. It's just weird. It's like, oh, you watched my kid once at practice. Well, I was still there. So, if you would have taken her, I was still there. I don't know, just a little weird, but it was still cute. But it was funny because because she was like, oh, well, what do I get out of this or whatever? And he said, a night away from all this drama you got going on. That was nice and funny.
And at the beach house, Dan asks Nathan what Deb has planned for the two of them this weekend. Nathan says as little as possible, he hopes. And Dan wants him to eat breakfast, but Nathan says he can't. He hasn't made it to school on time once since he moved there with him.
Okay, then why doesn't Nathan wake up earlier?
Right.
I had an issue with this because I'm like, if you've learned after a couple times of being late, why don't you just wake up earlier?
Well, I guess Dan's been like holding him up too, like with the breakfast and stuff. And
I
he probably
don't,
starts talking and
but then he should go and tell the school that his dad is holding him back.
right.
You know what I mean? Because, especially when you're in high school, every tardy that you have means something. So, the fact that he is just late every day, the school should step in and be like, why are you late every day? And also, Dan wanting custody of him full time. This would actually be against him if his son is late every day for school because Deb would win that.
Right.
So Dan should want Nathan to get to school on time if he ever wants to win custody of him.
Yeah, so Dan says he will now and hands him car keys.
My God.
Yep. And then they
Dan
go to the
always has
dealership.
something up his sleeve.
Yep. Dan tells Nathan he knows the divorce has been hard on him. He wants to thank him for sticking by his old man.
Yeah, that was weird. Thank you for sticking by your old man. Because Nathan's like, oh, well, this is, this isn't really a gift. You want something in return.
Yeah, it's a bribe.
Yeah.
And then Dan, is like, that's not exactly the thank you he was looking for, but.
Oh my God. See again. That's all he wants. It's not like, hey, you need a car. I'll get you one. It's, where's my thank you? Like, Dan just is so annoying because he always wants a thank you for any little thing he does. It's like, whatever. Like, Nathan didn't ask for a car.
Right. Yeah, but he thinks
he's only doing it because Deb didn't get him a car.
Right. Yeah, he's trying to make himself look better. And then Nathan says thanks for the car because now he can get away from him whenever he wants.
That was good. I told you
Mhm.
Nathan has like the best comebacks when it comes to Dan.
Mm-hmm. Then at school, Haley finds Peyton. She tells her Lucas told her about Brooke. She was afraid something like this might happen. Payne says 10 points for Haley, and Haley asks how Brooke's doing. Payne says he doesn't know. She'll probably never speak to her again. She knows she wouldn't. And just then, Nathan comes pulling up behind them, beeping the horn. Both girls look to see who's driving. After Nathan gets out of the car, Payne asks if he knocked over his dad's dealership. Nathan doesn't laugh, so she says, okay, none of my business, and walks away. So then Haley walks up to the car, and Nathan explains that his dad gave it to him. It's his way of showing him he's in control. Haley says to give it back, and Nathan says no, if he's going to live like this, he's going to take everything he can get.
Oh, so and apparently Haley um is trying to get tickets to Sheryl Crow concert.
Mm-hmm. Yep, on eBay. So Nathan says he has DSL, so she can go over and, there's 3 more options. She's going to try to win. And then Lucas is in the weight room.
Oh my God, I hate it. He's like a jackass.
Yeah. The Skills walks in.
He's a jackass to Skills. I don't like it.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
what did Skills do to him?
Right.
Like, why is he so hateful towards Skills? I don't understand. Like Skills, apparently we never saw, but apparently the River Court boys went to the hospital. But also, like, Skills is one of his best friends. It's just really annoying because, and you have to keep in mind, Lucas also left basically his friends to go on the basketball team.
Mm-hmm.
And so he kind of ditched them, and yet he's just being rude. And I was like Skills should have walked away and been like, I'm not talking to you.
Right.
Like, glad you're alive. I'm leaving.
Mm-hmm.
I was just
Yeah.
like, all Skills was doing was he was concerned that Lucas was pushing himself too much.
Mm-hmm.
That was it.
Yeah.
It's not like he said anything bad.
Mm-hmm.
And honestly, wouldn't you want a friend like that?
Right. And then Tim walks in telling Lucas, well, he called Lucas a gimp. And then he said, Nate, Whitey wants to see him. And then Lucas asks why. And Tim says, like, what? Like he's psychic? So
Well,
Tim has an attitude. Yeah.
Tim usually has something. You know what I mean? Like he
Mm-hmm.
usually knows something. So, I mean, that's probably why Lucas asked.
Yeah. And then Lucas walks into the hall where Brooke, like Peyton, gives him a look and keeps walking.
Oh my God, though, when he told Brooke, I'm sorry, she was like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, sorry you got caught. I'm like, ooh,
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Because that is true. He's not sorry that he did it.
Right.
He's sorry he got caught. It's
Mm-hmm.
true. I was
Yeah.
like, Lucas, zip it.
Yeah. And he used that typical line saying like he didn't mean to hurt her.
Yes, he
And he didn't
did. If he
plan
didn't
any of
mean
it.
to, if he didn't
Mm-hmm.
mean to, then he would have broken up with her and
Yeah.
then went out with Peyton. But
Mm-hmm.
instead, he did it behind her back.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
So
like,
Brooke,
who does that?
right. So Brooke rightfully told him, to go to hell. And then at
Mhm.
practice, Whitey
But I
tells
just,
the
I just didn't like Lucas because in this whole episode, because it's like he's like kind of somewhat blaming Brooke, and it's like
Mhm.
and Peyton, and it's like, who's at fault here?
Right.
I'm going with you because
Mhm.
you're the one that was in the middle of it. And you're the one that should have broken up with Brooke
Mhm.
before you even, it's like the fact that you held out too long with your relationship, that's not anybody's fault but your own. When
Right.
you started to truly have feelings and, especially when you tried to hook up with Peyton in that motel room, that should have been the end of you and Brooke.
Mhm.
But it wasn't. So it's like, that's on you.
Right.
So I didn't like that.
And at practice, Whitey tells the team that as long as they're 1 man short, they're going to have to work double time to take up the slack. Lucas walks up to
I
Whitey.
have a question about that.
Yeah.
When the show started,
Mhm.
they were 1 man short in a way. Like he's not always been on the team.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really confused at this because um weren't they winning and like, it didn't really hurt them that Lucas wasn't on the team from the beginning?
Yeah,
Do you know
right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like
I think,
Nathan was the star, and it's just weird how all of a sudden, oh, we got to work really hard because Lucas isn't on the team. What were you doing before that?
yeah, well, they never explained it too
Well,
well
well,
because,
because it's like they're acting as if they lost Nathan, who's been on the team his whole life.
mm-hmm.
Lucas just joined.
Right.
It's not like you're just going back to the beginning. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
When Lucas wasn't on the team, that's all.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really weird. And haven't they had, why are they acting like this is the first practice, too? Because
Well,
Nathan or Lucas was in a coma for how long? And then
mm-hmm.
he was out of the hospital recovering for how long?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what, maybe 2 weeks? It's weird because you would have had practice, a few days of practice, you would have had actually a couple of weeks probably of practice. You would have had
Mm-hmm.
at least a game. It's really in between all of this. So it's really weird how they're acting like this is the first day of practice since Lucas was in an accident.
Mm-hmm.
Like you would have had a game since then
Right.
because he's recovered a little bit. Remember, last episode was all about Lucas recovering.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't make any sense that they wouldn't have went right back to practice the next day.
Right.
And they wouldn't have had a game since then.
Mm-hmm.
So it's kind of throwing me off because I'm like, this doesn't exactly make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
Does it make sense to you?
Well, technically, in the pilot episode, most of the team or half of the team was suspended for the season because of the whole bus incident, and apparently they never came back. So I think that's why they're one man short with Lucas out of
No,
the
but why are
picture.
they yeah, but why are they acting like this is their first day of practice since Lucas was in an accident? That's what I'm confused about.
Yeah, I don't know about that. Yeah.
Like, why are they shouldn't when he was in a coma they still had practice?
Mm-hmm.
Because it was never said that Whitey suspended practice again.
Right.
It's weird. Like right now they're talking about being short a
Mm-hmm.
person. Well, shouldn't they have said that the first day of practice?
Right.
Like, why are you saying this now after
Mm-hmm.
what, probably a week that Lucas has been out of the hospital?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, you've had at least 5 days of practice. Why haven't you discussed it then? Like, Lucas is awake. We're so happy, but he's going to be out a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
It's weird. Like, why now? I don't get it. See, that's the
Right.
thing. The rating's off. That should have been talked about last episode, not this episode.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then Whitey, talks to him and says like Skills, he's pushing himself too hard. So from now on, he wants him courtside and out of the weight
And
room.
no way, no weights. I loved it.
Mm-hmm.
But he shouldn't be doing weights. He's only been on the hospital like a week.
Right. Yeah, Lucas says he's useless in the gym. What's the point? And Whitey says the point is he's still the coach and he's going to need him in the playoffs. And
Um,
then Luke,
I'm still confused about their winning streak.
yeah.
But, then we run into Dan.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. And it was very weird because, Dan's holding the door open. And Lucas is like, I can get my own door.
Yeah.
But, Dan did say, didn't expect to see you back in the gym so soon.
Mm-hmm.
And Lucas is like, I bet. I'm like, oh, Lucas. But it
Yeah.
was weird though, because like Dan was like, you're welcome for the whole rescue thing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, Dan. Like again, here we are. We're going back to like with Nathan, at the beginning. It's like he wants a thank you. It's like, you're so narcissistic. Like, stop
Mm-hmm.
it.
Yeah.
It's like, congrats. You saved your son's life.
Mm-hmm. Then he still has an attitude with him and, was like, what, did I save your life wrong? Like in the wrong way.
Kinda. You didn't exactly protect his head when you were carrying him.
Yeah. And Lucas says
It
that
was
he
weird. It was
doesn't.
like it's a bobblehead.
Mm-hmm. And Lucas says that what he did doesn't change, who he is, doesn't make him a good guy.
Well, that was the thing too, is Dan's acting as if everything has changed with everybody. Like he's the hero, and it's like,
Mm-hmm.
mm, you're still an ass at
Right.
the end of
Yeah.
the day. Like
Mm-hmm.
who you are means more than what you did.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you're going to continue to be a jerk to every single person and act like Lucas still shouldn't be here,
Mm-hmm.
then that's a problem. And that's just who you are. So everybody should still treat you the way they did before this. They
Yeah.
shouldn't put you on a pedestal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Dan, was giving in and says he's right. He pulled him from the car so he can make his life a living hell. It was a big plan so he could watch, so he could
Watch
live to
Nathan,
watch. Yeah. Take
his
his
son.
team to, state championships. He asks, is that what you want to hear? And then Dan hears people call Nathan's name. He sees him make a basket and tells him, nice shot. Lucas storms out of the gym. Everyone sees. And Brooke is still looking at Peyton angrily. And then Dan follows Nathan outside a little bit later. And Nathan says for once he's with Lucas. He has nothing to say to him. Dan tells Nathan that he forgot his bag this morning. He nearly ran it over in the brand new car. Nathan says he has clothes at home.
I don't like that Dan, again, here we are, another episode or another scene of Dan being like, I brought your bag to you. What do I get? Like, all you're doing is
Mm-hmm.
being mean to me, and I should get a thank you again. It's like, oh my God. First of all, like,
Right.
did Nathan call you and say, hey, I, I have practice after school. Can you bring my bag? No.
Mm-hmm.
So you just bringing it, he obviously was prepared.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, he would have called you and then he could say thank you. But the fact that he didn't, he still went to practice, it's like, Dan, you're doing too much.
Mm-hmm.
It's really annoying.
Yeah.
Oh, but I liked when Nathan said that the car is an investment
Right.
that he's looking for. And it's true, he is looking for that return. Like, if you do
Mm-hmm.
something I don't like, I'm gonna take it away.
Right.
Like
Yeah. Dan.
that's why it's not a gift, because a gift you don't return.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dan asks, what does he have to, do to prove that he made the right choice when he picked him? And Nathan says it wasn't a choice, it was a lack of one.
Yeah, I like that part.
Mm-hmm.
Because, Dan's all like, you made the right choice. And it's like, but he didn't really make a choice. Dan pressured him into it by saying, and brainwashing him by saying, your mom did something terrible and you'll want to live with me. And it's like, that's the only reason why he's living with you.
Mm-hmm.
It's not because he wants to live with you,
Right.
because he was kind of forced because his mom
Mm-hmm.
didn't tell him the truth. And, you made it as if she killed somebody.
Mm-hmm.
That's how he acted, as if she killed somebody. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, you will
Yeah.
never want to live with her. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
you know what I mean? It's kind of like, unless she really did kill somebody, I'd want to live
Mm-hmm.
with her.
Right.
Because if she cheated on Dan, guess what?
Mm-hmm.
More power to her. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's Dan Scott.
Yeah.
Like, I wouldn't blame her for cheating on him.
Mm-hmm.
Would you?
No.
So I'm just like, whatever, Dan.
And then Brooke storms out of the school with Payne right behind her. Payne tells her sooner or later she's going to have to talk to her. Technically,
I
Brooke,
think Brooke is picking late and never,
yeah, I was going to say, Brooke doesn't actually really have to talk to her. I mean, in cheerleading
never.
practice,
No,
yes, but besides that, no.
I don't even think at practice, unless like they're doing something where she truly has to talk to her. Otherwise, she can go the rest of her life without talking to her. That's,
Right.
that is how friendships end. Like when friends end,
Mm-hmm.
you don't talk to the person again.
Right.
So
Yeah, and
no,
then
Brooke
Peyton,
doesn't have to. Like, what does she have over her or something? You know what I mean? Like
right.
Peyton's acting
Mm-hmm.
like she has to. And it's like, for what?
Mm-hmm.
First of all, Peyton, you did something wrong, majorly
Yeah.
wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So why does Brooke have to talk to you?
Right.
I'm so confused as why Peyton isn't really truly sympathizing with Brooke.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think Peyton has ever really looked at herself yet and said what she's done is wrong
Mm-hmm.
because she's still thinking she's innocent. Like,
Right.
I get it. Brooke went after him when you liked him. We all know that. But what you still did is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Brooke was wrong to go after Lucas, but Peyton was wrong to go after Lucas when they were together.
Right.
So, yes, they're both wrong, but Peyton, yes, she's still in the wrong. So she should still be sympathetic. But the fact that she's not, it is bothersome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you should see it from her point of view and think of, what if the roles were reversed and Brooke was the one that cheated? Well, if Peyton's boyfriend was the one that cheated on her with Brooke, I mean, yeah, that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, of course, Brooke can probably never see herself doing that, but still,
Maybe Brooke was drunk
yeah, maybe, yeah.
because clearly, she meets guys and just sleeps with them without knowing them.
Mm-hmm. Wait, which guys?
No, I'm just because she goes to those bars. Remember when she would take Lucas and then
Yeah, I
she
don't
would
know.
go to those college bars, remember, just to like make out with guys?
Oh, okay, now I remember. Yeah, the college
Yeah,
party. Yeah, yeah.
it's like at the beginning, like that's
Mm-hmm.
who Brooke was. So
Yeah.
I'm sure she's slept with people that she doesn't know. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because she was drunk.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing. But yeah, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I don't think she'd probably do it intentionally. I don't think that's who she is. But then again, she did kind of steal Lucas when Peyton wanted him. So there is that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I guess she might.
Well, I mean, she was sober at the college party, so yeah.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, Payne said that if she could go back to the way things were, she would. And Brooke says, back when her best friend was cheating with her boyfriend,
Oh
and
my
she was
God,
too
though.
stupid to realize it.
When Brooke said, "Did you sleep with him?" And then Peyton says, "No, it didn't get that far." Like they
Right.
stopped it before it did get far. And I was like, Peyton,
Mm-hmm.
no. Like,
Yeah, she could just slept at no.
why did you have to like this is what I'm saying is if you had any ounce of sympathy and regret for what you did, you wouldn't have said that.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like if you were trying to repair your friendship and
Mm-hmm.
you wanted Brooke to be your friend, you wouldn't have said that.
Right.
All you're doing is making it worse by saying, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't get that far. Like, we
Yeah.
stopped it."
Mm-hmm. Twisting the knife.
Yeah, and it's like, and this is supposed to be better.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like a kiss could just mean a kiss. But the
Mm-hmm.
fact that you two almost went that far,
All
it's
the way,
like,
yeah.
yeah, it's like, how is Brooke supposed to react? You know what I mean? Like she's supposed to hate you two for the rest of her life. That's
Right.
what anybody would do. So
Mm-hmm.
why would Peyton think that, especially after hearing that she would want to take Peyton back?
Right.
If Brooke had found out it was just a kiss, then okay. But the fact that they almost had sex, yeah, there's no reason why Brooke needs to be friends with her.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, especially when you hear that, yeah, you definitely want to, side with Brooke.
Mm-hmm.
But Brooke, again, if you're trying to get your friendship back, you don't say that.
Right.
And again, it's how she said it too. It's not like she was sorry. You know what I mean?
Well, she said she was sorry. Yeah.
Not, yeah, but how it was kind of like rolling right off her tongue.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't like she was truly sorry.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't feel her sympathizing and feeling guilty with anything she did this episode. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like it was just always Brooke's fault. Like, why,
Mm-hmm.
Brooke, you need to get over it. You need to talk to me. It's like, no, she doesn't.
Right.
And why can't Brooke have time to heal and
Mm-hmm.
be mad at them? She
Yeah.
has every right to.
Mm-hmm.
I don't get this.
Right.
Just because Peyton now, like, literally has nobody in her corner, that's her
Mm-hmm.
fault.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So good luck, Peyton. That's probably what Brooke should have said.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
you got nobody, that's why you're trying to suck up to me. Goodbye.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Payne says that they were going to tell her, and then the accident happened, and she liked him so much, so she thought. But Brooke finishes her sentence with that she'd spare her the heartache, and Payne says, "Yeah," and then Brooke says, "Well, that worked out real well, didn't it?"
I
And
just,
then,
but okay, the accident happened. They were going to tell her. Why didn't they
mm-hmm,
tell her right after the accident when Lucas was
right,
awake?
mm-hmm,
Why were they sneaking around all last episode
mm-hmm,
until they got caught by Brooke? They weren't
yeah,
planning on telling her. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm,
Like, Brooke should have been like, what were you going to tell me in a year?
yeah,
Because, you had all that time to say something and you never did.
right. Yeah, and then Brooke asks Payne if she's in love with him, and Payne says nothing. So Brooke says she doesn't even care. He's all hers now, and they can have a great life together.
So, okay, I'm going to throw it back to Dawson's Creek for a second.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people that are Dawson fans say that Pacey and Joey were in the wrong. That's Dawson fans. That, they should have told them. But Dawson and Joey were not together. This is a totally different situation
Yeah,
because Brooke and Lucas were together.
right.
So this really is cheating. You know what I mean? Like on Dawson's Creek, it wasn't cheating. And
Right, yeah.
actually what she did with Jack was cheating
Mm-hmm.
because they're the ones that kissed.
Yeah.
But when you come to One Tree Hill, this is actually cheating.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't like when people, and especially because there are people that like to compare Dawson's Creek and One Tree Hill. There is no comparison. There was
Right.
no there was no cheating with that love
Mm-hmm.
triangle.
Yeah.
It was, yeah, they're friends, but they're not sneaking around cheating.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm like, no, no, no. That's that little love triangle people like to say. That's just because it had nothing to do with cheating. But this one, it's
Right.
all about cheating.
Mm-hmm.
This is why, how can you really compare the two when they're totally different situations?
Right.
I mean, do you think do you think they're similar and that, you know, they're the same, or are they two different situations?
Yeah, no, they're completely different.
Yeah. So I don't like when some people compare them because I'm like, I don't see it.
Mm-hmm. And then at Keith's garage, Dan drops by and says he heard the rumor that the place was for sale.
Of course, nowhere would he hear that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, does he just drive by the shop every day?
Right.
Oh my
Yeah.
God, though. But Dan, when he said though, that he goes, don't tell me you're trying to make good on a certain nephew's medical expenses.
Mm-hmm.
It's like eye rolls because it's just so annoying because it's like, that's your kid, Dan. Remember that?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Remember like 16 years ago?
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, Dan says he'll buy the place.
Why? Like, of course he would, because every scene Dan's in, he's got to do something.
Mm-hmm.
But what I don't get is why everyone falls for it.
Right.
Like, they all know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
Like Lucas, why did he fall for it at the beginning instead of just walking out? Why does Nathan fall for it? Why does Keith fall for it? Like, Keith has been in his life since Dan's been born. Like,
Right.
why would you give in to Dan? I don't understand.
Mm-hmm.
Like, help me make it make sense because it doesn't make any sense that people just give in to Dan. Like, oh, I'll listen to what he has to say.
Yeah, I don't know.
There's always something Dan's going to say that's going to make everybody mad. So why are you
Mm-hmm.
all falling for this?
Right.
But like Keith, why would he want Dan to buy the place?
I guess because no one else was making an offer, maybe.
Okay, but Because Dan says, "Oh no, you know, I'm not going to be your boss or anything." Trying to act like the good brother.
Mm-hmm.
But we all know Dan has an agenda. So it's
Yeah.
kind of like, why? It
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make any sense that, you know, Keith's gonna fall. Like, why isn't Keith really taking an extra step of figuring out why Dan would do this?
Yeah.
Like, it's not something a nice sibling would do.
Yeah. I guess he's just desperate to keep his business closest to him as possible, you know?
But if he sells it, like he can still start over.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He knows how to work on cars and everything. So it doesn't make any sense that you wouldn't just sell it
Right.
and then start over,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Like, why you want Dan as your boss of all people?
Mm-hmm.
Ugh.
And then,
Oh, but it was
yeah.
funny though, because Keith was like, "You must really think I'm an idiot." It's like, well, if
Mm-hmm.
you go for it, you kind of are, aren't you?
Right. Yeah. So, Danny even said to Keith that once the place returns to profitability, he'll let him buy it back.
Do you really think Dan would let Keith buy it back?
No.
Me either. He would hold it
Mm-hmm.
over his head the rest of his life.
Mm-hmm. And Dan's like, maybe he's turned over, a new leaf to Keith.
Yeah, right.
Mm-hmm. And then like he kind of pushes, hangs it over Keith's head, like, no one else is breaking down the door for other offers for him. So yeah, I think that's why Keith accepted it because nobody else was making any offers. So it was like his last, chance to keep the business, like I said, as closest to him and his hands as possible.
Okay, but like if you were Keith, wouldn't you then like sell him the business, but not work there?
Right. Yeah.
Like I wouldn't. I'd be like, sorry, screw
Mm-hmm.
you. Like I'm not gonna work for Dan.
Right.
You know, it's really weird that Keith would sell him the business, but then work there.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'd be like, you can have it all. I'm
Yeah.
done.
Mm-hmm. And then Nathan gets to Deb's. Deb says she missed him. He says he's only been gone for a week. And Deb says she's sorry for the way things ended up. You know, he says, whatever. She says, nice car. And then she says, did Dan, she didn't
It
say, did your
was
father? She said, Dan,
no,
did Dan
that's what
give it
I
to you?
was. That's what threw me off because she said, did Dan buy you that car? And I was like,
Mhm.
okay, I have never heard a mother say to their child, did your whatever the person's name is,
Mhm.
because it's always, did your father buy you this? Did your father do that? It's never, did their, they never use the name. It's always your dad or your father. It's really weird. I'm like, who says that?
Right. Yeah.
I'm like, even people that are in custody, like terrible custody battles, they don't say the person. I don't think they say the person's name. They'll say, "Did your father?"
Right.
They don't say, "Did so and so." It's really weird. I was like, this is like the first time I've ever heard somebody say, "Did Dan buy you that?"
Mhm.
She's not talking to a stranger or anybody else. She's talking to her son.
Mhm.
So it's very weird. Did that throw you off?
Yeah, definitely. I think
Yeah,
it's just
I questioned it.
yeah, I think it's just proving that like the divorce is like I guess coming into more of a finalization, like Deb's fully like separating herself from Dan.
But why would you want to
So
say his name?
I don't know.
I think that's why people in custody battles don't use the person's name because they don't want to say the person's name because it's traumatizing and everything. So and you get sick. So you're like, did your father? You know, you don't
Mhm.
say their name because you don't want to say their name.
Right.
So I'm kind of like, what? How come the word Dan is just rolling right off her tongue? Like, again, if he's doing all this stuff to you and definitely trying to get your kid away, you wouldn't say his name.
Mhm.
So I'm really surprised that she did.
Yeah, right. Yeah, so Deb's surprised that Dan is actually bribing Nathan, and it's hard to compete on that level, she says to him, to Nathan. Nathan says he didn't want it, but he gave her a chance to come clean to him, and she didn't want to do that. And Deb says that he has
I
to
do
believe she was
think
only protecting him.
Deb just needs to come clean with him.
Mm-hmm.
It's really
Yeah.
annoying. I'm like, just tell him and
Mm-hmm.
let him choose for himself. Like, isn't it better than hiding?
Right.
Because he's already living with Dan. So even if you tell him and Nathan still doesn't want to live with you, that would actually then just be his choice.
Yeah, so at the cafe, Karen, Lucas, and Haley are eating together. Karen says she doesn't remember the last time the three of them did this. And Haley says it's like old times, minus one spleen. But Lucas doesn't think it's funny. And then Lucas winces in pain from trying to move his hurt arm by instinct. Karen asks if he overdid it at PT, physical therapy. Lucas
No,
says it's a
I think
time.
he overdid it in the weight room.
Yeah. And then 'cause before he said all they make him do is stretch, so I wouldn't be surprised if he just didn't end up going after the first session.
But then don't you think that because he's underage that they would let his mom know that he's not going?
Yeah, I don't know.
You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you're 18, then they can, I don't think they have to say, if you're going or not to your parents. But I think when you're still underage, I think they have to tell your parents.
Yeah, I don't know. It just seems like something Lucas would do.
Well, especially if Karen's paying for it,
Mm-hmm.
you know?
Mm-hmm. And then Karen asks how school is going. Lucas says Brooke hates him and Pam won't talk to him. And Haley says, see, it is like old times. And then Lucas mentions he saw Dan, who told him the reason he pulled him from the wreckage was so he could watch him suffer. And Karen says she's not sure that's true. Like she's sure that's not true. And Lucas tells her not to defend him.
I don't know. I think it's true.
Right. So yeah, I think with Dan saving Lucas, like Karen kind of sees Dan more as a better guy, unlike everybody else.
But why?
I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense that I just don't understand Karen because like she's so hard on Keith, but like Dan does one nice thing and she's gonna just keep that one nice thing for the rest of his life. Like, yeah, she saved her son's life,
Mm-hmm.
but he wishes Lucas was never born.
Mm-hmm.
And he treats your son like crap.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, yeah, I'd be happy. Great, you saved his life. I'm thankful for that. But I'm not going to sit there and think you're, the king or anything. You
Mm-hmm.
know, you're still, like I said, you're still an ass. I don't get it.
Yeah.
You still say these things to my son. Like, I just don't get why she doesn't get it. Like, why is she so nice to him?
Yeah, I don't know. But she's trying to like make Lucas see that too. Like he may have done some terrible things, but he did save his life. And Lucas says whatever that's worth. So Haley throws a piece of food at
Exactly.
him. Yeah. And tells him to
Like,
snap out of it.
I think that's the thing is in this episode. That's the only thing Lucas was right about, is Dan. Otherwise, in
Mm-hmm.
this episode, he definitely was not somebody I was rooting for.
Right. So he says it's time for a change and gets up from the table. Karen says, where are you going? And he says, out. He tells him don't wait up for him as he storms out of the cafe. So I guess Karen just decided to let him go without saying where he was going.
Yeah, I guess so. Probably because he's been doing it for 6 weeks prior. So whatever.
Mm-hmm. So then Lucas ends up at a bar. It's the same bar that he and Brooke went to on their first date. And he
Man,
gets a beer.
I, these fake IDs.
Mm-hmm.
Wonder what his
But
name is.
right. So I was surprised that he even had the fake ID. I thought she just held on to it, and then threw it
I
away.
thought that I thought that the guy bartender was gonna go, nope. Like I thought he was gonna see right through it or Brooke, I thought Brooke maybe came to the bar saying if this person comes, they're underage. Like, I just thought there would be going to be some backlash.
Right.
But of course it wasn't. Especially because did you see the bartender? The way he was like looking at Lucas? That's
Not
why I for
really.
sure thought something was going to be said. But the bartender, because he just kept looking at him. And when he was
Mhm.
looking at him, it was just kind of like I know you're underage look. So I was just
Mhm.
like, oh, he's going to get caught. And then all of a
Yeah.
sudden he goes, oh, what kind did you want? And I'm like, what?
Right.
The look on your face was you were about to say something to him.
Mhm.
But then, of course, he meets someone because she's buying his drink.
Mhm. And he took off his sling.
Oh, why? Like, don't you think that would hurt
Right.
taking it off?
Mm.
Well, because you're probably only supposed to take it off for physical therapy.
Right.
And that's because they're trained.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? Otherwise, he's probably still supposed to have it on. It's only been, what, a week?
Maybe, yeah.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Mhm. So
Oh,
Lucas
and
walks over.
my other thing is too, if Lucas wants to get better,
Mhm.
wouldn't you wear
Right.
it? If you ever want to play basketball ever again, you should probably wear it.
Mhm. Yeah, so he walks over to her. She asks for his name.
It
He
was
says
funny
he's
because,
Lucas.
and then she goes, nice eye contact.
Mhm. Yeah, so he thanks her for the beer.
Were you into this whole thing?
Not really.
Me either. I didn't like her and I didn't care for the storyline because Lucas isn't feeling guilty of what he did. It's just really annoying. So I
Mhm.
didn't like this whole thing.
Yeah.
Like,
And then
oh,
she
poor Lucas. Nobody's talking to him. So I'm gonna go meet a new girl.
Mhm.
Ugh.
Yeah. So she asks if he believes in magic. He says no, not really. So she has him sit down and she shows him the trick, with the whole cup and the drink and getting it back into the cup without touching it with the match and lighting it. And then Lucas asks for her name and she tells him to buy her a drink and maybe she'll tell him. And then Payne is at home drawing her red heart from the river court that is now on a wall with her, Lucas, and Brooke using shotguns to shoot it. So I'm guessing was it her, like Payne's heart specifically they're shooting at maybe? Or Brooks? Or like all of their hearts put together, do you think?
I don't know. I
Yeah.
just know she's like obsessed with drawing his number and everything.
Mm-hmm.
That's all I know.
Yeah.
Like someone who's not in love with him, she sure is acting like it.
Yeah. She looks at herself in her
She's also acting like she's the one that got her heart broke.
right. Yeah, so she looks at herself in her webcam and after some more drawing, she grabs her webcam and disconnects it. Then her phone rings. It's Lucas. She answers and asks if he's okay. And it turns out to be Karen on the other line. She's looking for Lucas, not answering
So,
his phone.
what did you think when Karen asked if Lucas was with Brooke? Like, does I thought Karen knows that they're not together.
Yeah, she does, but she's just trying to like cover all the bases to figure out where he is. Just like covering the whole ground she can.
But why would she think that Brooke would want to talk to him?
Yeah, I know. Again, she's desperate to find Lucas, so she's just trying to every place she can with every person that knows him.
Mm. But of course, Payne's like, yeah, I'll talk to her and see if she knows where he's at. Ugh.
Right.
It's like, here you go. Reason for these two to talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like Brooke just can't have an episode alone from Peyton.
Right. And then Brooke is at home eating and watching a movie where a woman is crying hysterically. Brooke
She
gets
was
annoyed.
funny because she was like, suck it up. It's like
Yeah, pull it together. Yeah.
the same difference, but it was funny. I'm like, Brooke.
Mm-hmm. And she changes the channel. And the next one is like a horror movie. And Brooke says, that's better. And then Peyton walks into her room.
So when Peyton says you're not answering your phone, Brooke's like, apparently you didn't get the message. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
as in I don't want to talk to you. And I'm like,
Yeah.
exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like from Brooke's perspective, but I get why Peyton was doing it was because of Lucas. But yeah, but also, even if she had answered, she probably would have hung up if she would have said, if Peyton would have said, "Do you know where Lucas is?"
Mm-hmm.
Because
Yeah.
it's just a name she doesn't want to hear, especially coming from Peyton.
Right.
I think if Peyton would have said anyone else's name, it would have been okay.
Mm-hmm.
But to hear it come out of Peyton's mouth, I'm sure she was like, oh, ill. And so I'm sure she would have hung up even if she did answer the phone.
Right.
But then, Peyton's like, oh, well, if you do know where he is, his mom wants to know.
Yeah. And Payne is about to leave when Brooke tells her to wait. And then back at the bar, Lucas and Nikki finish their
Don't you
drinks.
think that Brooke could have just gone on her own?
Yeah.
Like, why did she have to drag Peyton along?
Well, it seemed like the other way around, but yeah. I don't know.
No, no, but she could have, because Peyton said,
I mean, yeah,
if
Brooke showed her the
you,
bar, but yeah.
no, but Peyton said, well, if you know, like his mom wants to know, so call her.
Mm-hmm.
Brooke could have, like, so, like whatever to Peyton, let her walk out, and then she could have went to the bar on her own.
Right.
Like, why did she have to drag Peyton?
I don't know. Yeah, that's a good question.
Like if I'm mad at you and you did that, I wouldn't want to drag you along.
Mm,
I would just go see if he's there, and if he's not, then whatever. But I'm not going to drag somebody that I hate in the moment with me,
right.
especially because they were together. Like, that's not something
Mm-hmm.
I'd want to do.
Yeah.
And given how Brooke is so upset, I would think she wouldn't want to do that.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
So I'm just like, why are you dragging her? Unless it's punishment because she wants her to know, like all the fun her and Lucas had.
Yeah, maybe.
Well, like that's got to be the only reason because why would she do that? She hates Peyton right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then back at the bar, Lucas and Nikki finish their drinks. Nikki asks what Lucas's girlfriend's name is.
Well,
He
right now we don't
says,
know. We don't know her name.
yeah. Well, he no, she was asking what his girlfriend's name is.
No, you said Nikki. We don't know her name yet.
Oh, whoops. I mean, people who've
We
seen
know her
this know.
name, but
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so he says he doesn't have one anymore, but he had two. And then, yeah, she calls him Hugh
So,
Hefner. And
so he's really calling Peyton his girlfriend.
yeah, but at least he's admitting that he was, messing around with both of them.
Yes, but he's still annoying because he still is blaming them
Hmm.
because he's not
Well,
blaming himself.
well, in this moment, it seemed like he was finally starting to let it sink in because he said that, one was about fun, the other had, he had this huge emotional connection to, but he screwed both of those up. So at least he's aware now. But, Nikki doesn't really care. She just says, so you have a broken heart and now you're at the bar pouting, big deal.
Yeah, she doesn't care.
Hmm. And then she says, the Easter Bunny and true love have in common is that it doesn't matter. What they have in common is it doesn't matter because it doesn't exist. Neither one exists.
So it was weird because she said, "Do you want to get out of here?" He was like,
Hmm.
"I barely even know you."
Right.
Which again, you don't even know this person. She could be
Right.
a serial killer.
Hmm.
Why would you want to go with her?
Right. And she says that's kind of the point.
But
Yeah, but
why?
I don't know.
Like after everything Lucas has seen at the
Hmm.
bar, and then the whole thing with like Peyton at that college part, it's just weird that like Lucas would just be like, sure, you
Right. I
know?
guess,
It's
yeah,
like
I
Tree
guess.
Hill isn't exactly the safest town, clearly. So
Hmm.
let's just go because I don't care about my life, apparently.
Yeah, maybe it's punishment too for himself, what he did to Brooke and Peyton, who knows? But also, maybe he thinks that she could be harmless and she's a woman, not a man. Maybe. I don't know. And then,
Well,
yeah,
then she
and
finally does
he's,
say her name.
yeah. Yeah, she finally tells him her name, which is Nikki,
Yeah.
pushes him to go with her.
So
But,
Karen, so then Karen goes to the body shop,
hmm
sees the sign that it's. that it's for sale.
Yeah, she was there for Lucas first. And then,
Um,
yeah.
but it's really weird because it's like, what did she think was going to happen? He didn't have money. He wasn't Dan. So when he
Mhm.
paid for the medical bills, what did she think was going to happen?
I don't know. Maybe she did think he had the money, or maybe just it didn't come to her mind because she was so focused on Lucas.
Because it's, I don't know, it's just really weird because I'm like, doesn't have Dan's money.
Hmm.
So it didn't make any sense to me that she would just think that, he could have the shop and pay for the bills.
Right. Yeah.
Um, well then, of course he tells her um that he's thinking or that he's gonna go into or that he's gonna sell it, right?
hmm Well, he said that yeah, he ran into a small problem. Everything's okay now. Selling was just a last resort.
But I did like when she said that because she didn't want him to do that. So she was like,
Mm.
I'll just take a loan out on the cafe.
Right. And of course, he doesn't want her to do that either.
Yep.
Yeah, so he says he won't accept her
Well, because he
cash or
said
check.
he said Lucas wouldn't have had that accident and those surgeries and everything if it wasn't for me, which is true.
Hmm. Yeah.
She wouldn't have to pay for anything, because
Hmm.
it wouldn't have happened.
Right. So he's like trying to take responsibility as much as he can, any
Hmm.
way that he can.
Which he does need to.
Hmm.
If you want to be okay with yourself the rest of your life, you
Hmm.
kind of need to.
Right.
You know how terrible of a person you would be if you caused an accident and then you didn't pay for the bills?
Hmm. And then he tells Karen that he needed a financial backer and he found one.
Like a
Karen,
loan shark?
yeah,
Okay, I'm
thanks for
sorry, but I'm thinking maybe a loan shark would be better than Dan Scott.
right.
Like, I know loan sharks aren't exactly great, but
Mhm.
either is Dan Scott.
Right. Yeah, so he tells her it's legit. They're closing the deal tomorrow.
It's legit. It's Dan Scott. That's the thing. He never told her who it was
Nope.
because she would, I think, but then, it's like the old Karen would have
Hmm.
said, oh, no, no, no. But I'm thinking the new Karen would say, okay,
Hmm.
because all of a sudden she's on Dan's, you know, on his side for
I
everything now. So it's weird because I was about to say, she would say, hell no. But this new Karen would say yes. So it's really annoying.
yeah. So Karen just tells him to promise her that he's not about to do something stupid.
Oh, he
And
is.
Keith says, he promises. Yep.
But he is going to do something stupid.
Hmm. So then Payne and Brooke show up at the bar where Brooke and Lucas had their first date, like I said before. And Payne, ask, I don't know what I was saying there, but Brooke says that she thinks that he went to the bar just because he knows that they'll take the fake ID. And then
So
they
I
walk
liked
to,
I liked when they were talking about what he looks like. And then
hmm
Brooke says the kind that cheats on his girlfriend with skinny blonde bitches.
hmm yeah, with Payne right there.
Mhm.
And then Brooke
Well, and then
finds
the
his
bartender
sling.
said nice. I was like, ew.
Hmm. And then Brooke finds his sling, so they know that he was there.
Well, and
And
clearly it's been how long since he hasn't been wearing it?
right.
So that's good for his recovery.
Hmm. And tells the bartender that he was wearing it. So then bartender remembers and tells them that they just
Oh
missed
yeah,
him.
he with another girl.
Hmm
And then Brooke was like, I'm gonna have a beer. Like, oh
Yep.
God.
Yep. So that just means he's not their problem anymore.
Nope, because they're both gonna drink.
Hmm
But you know
But they
what's
didn't.
weird?
Mhm.
The bartender didn't ask them for their ID.
Right.
I was like,
Maybe since they were looking for Lucas, the bartender thought that maybe they were Lucas's supposed age.
they are high schoolers.
Right. He thinks they're all over age. Yeah.
Because I'm like, what kind of bartender is this? Like, he didn't even ask the girls for their fake IDs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so then Lucas and Nikki are at the mall,
Ugh.
after closing hours.
Okay. She says she used to work there, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why would she have the keys?
She told him that she made copies.
Okay. But like, okay. I guess I don't know how it was in 2004 because nowadays, even if you made copies,
Mm-hmm.
in order to get into wherever you work,
Mm-hmm.
you normally it's either a code or um whatchamacallit,
Card,
something.
badge.
Yeah. Um and they disconnect those
Mm-hmm.
as soon as you're done with working there.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you quit or get fired, they disconnect your name from it.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get in.
Right.
So even if she had the keys to anything in the mall, she still would have to get into the mall,
Yeah.
which for her name it would be disconnected. So this wouldn't even be a thing.
Well, I'm pretty sure that the keys was all she needed to get into the mall too. So,
Well, that's what I'm saying. Then there really is a difference between now and 2004 because now, again, you wouldn't be able to get in unless
mm-hmm.
you broke in.
Right.
Like, yeah, you could make copies of the key, but you would
Mm-hmm.
still have to use some kind of code to get into the doors.
Okay. Yeah, it's not like that at my work. So,
What?
yeah, it's just keys too.
What? Seriously? They trust you people that much?
No, we don't get only the people who open get keys. So like I don't have a key because I never open. So,
Okay, okay, yeah. Well, but you gotta use like a code or something to like get in the door, right?
no. I go into the same
How do you walk in?
I walk in because it's unlocked for people to come in and out.
So you just go through the front door?
Yeah. And I get there later on in the day anyway, so business is open and everything. So,
Oh,
yeah.
because like we have codes, and I mean, anywhere I've worked,
Hmm.
you had a code or something to get in.
Right. Not me.
So, because the door locks as soon as that person walks in. So,
Hmm.
um, the next person would have to use the code. So, and
Hmm.
then normally, like anywhere I've gone, they either disconnect your badge
Hmm.
when you quit,
Hmm.
or they change codes, one or the other.
Right. Yeah, I don't have a key, card, nothing. So,
Mm, that's interesting.
hmm yeah. So then she turns on the carousel. Mickey wants Lucas to get on, and he's like worried about if they get in trouble because apparently they didn't have cameras in the mall either.
Well, this was 2004. They probably didn't.
Hmm.
I don't know when cameras in businesses came about,
Right.
you know.
Yeah. Yeah. They weren't. Yeah, they weren't
Especially a
everywhere at
small
the
town.
time. Hmm.
I mean, maybe like, New York City, but they probably had cameras, but I don't really think a small town probably did.
Right.
I mean, I don't know when our mall had cameras.
Hmm.
Probably wasn't 2004.
Right. Yeah, so she tells him he can't worry about all the what ifs in life, so relax and enjoy the ride.
Oh, yeah, enjoy the ride.
Mm-hmm.
Don't think that's the ride she meant, or
Mm-hmm.
that's the ride that was said.
Right. Yeah, so Nikki asks, what happened to his shoulder, and he says car accident. And then she's,
Okay,
asking if she can touch it.
so you know what they're about to do.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm still confused. So did Brooke and Lucas have sex?
Yeah, I don't know. It doesn't seem like it.
Because my thing is, remember when I kind of questioned Pacey and Andy because we never saw it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you guys were like, well, probably because like they weren't like the couple. they weren't like the main couple, so they focus on that,
Mm-hmm.
like that sex scene.
Mm-hmm.
But Brooke and Lucas are the main cast.
Yeah.
So why wouldn't we have seen that? Do you know what I
Right.
mean? Or the lead up of it. It was
Mm-hmm.
like, okay, I can see if they're, not a main couple, but they were. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, why didn't we really see anything that would make us think they did?
Yeah, I don't know.
Because the one time we did see them making out in his bed, Keith stopped it.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was no mention of it again.
Right.
So I'm just like, it's throwing me off because Lucas just seems like this is so normal now to just have sex.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, huh?
Right.
Like you dated Brooke and it didn't just happen the first night. So I'm just
Mm.
confused if they even did or not.
Right. Yeah, I don't think so.
Because how he's acting with Nikki
Mm-hmm.
is throwing me off.
Right.
Because I'm just like, has Lucas had sex before? Like, I'm just so confused.
Yeah.
Like, is it throwing you off?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Because clearly Nathan has. We all know that.
Mm-hmm.
But has Lucas?
Right.
Like, I thought
I don't know.
maybe Brooke was his first, but I'm not so sure.
Mm-hmm.
Is it Nikki?
Yeah, it seems that way.
Because it's weird how we know that Haley's a virgin,
Mm-hmm.
but we don't know about Lucas.
Right.
Isn't that weird?
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird. And the only reason why I'm questioning it is because it's like it's been like Lucas and Haley against the world.
Mm-hmm.
And it's never been mentioned that he's had a girlfriend
Right.
until Brooke. Because
Mm-hmm.
it's never been thrown in of Brooke isn't like his old girlfriend. You know what I mean? Like there's no mention that he's had a girlfriend.
Right.
So I'm just kind of confused. And he's not the person that does one night stands, except for, well, clearly right now. So I'm just
Mm.
kind of like, has he ever had sex?
Right.
What? How come we don't know this?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I didn't really want to focus on it too much.
Oh, because he's the guy?
I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know.
Because they didn't want that out there?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean? Like, we know Haley is, and we know Brooke and Peyton aren't. We know
Mm-hmm.
Luke, or we know that Nathan isn't. But
Mm-hmm.
what about Lucas?
Right.
I'm just thrown off because he's just acting as if it's just normal.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's not being awkward, like it's his first time, but he's not, I don't know. It's just really weird with Nikki. Like this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I'm just confused because I'm like, it's never said that he's had a girlfriend before. And I never saw anything with Brooke that they did anything. And we know he didn't do anything with Peyton because it was stopped. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm just so confused.
Right.
I really wish we would have got like a backstory of that,
Mm-hmm.
like if he did or not. You know
Right.
what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Because like we got the backstory that Nathan and Peyton, remember they would always break up because
Mm-hmm.
it was always like, oh, basically, oh, you're gonna break up again. So
Yeah.
it's throwing me off with this whole Lucas situation. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why did we get a backstory of Nathan, but we didn't get one of Lucas? Aren't they supposed to be the two main characters of the main characters?
Yeah.
And Chad narrates. So isn't he like the focus of the show?
Mm-hmm.
Why
Yeah.
is there no backstory of him
Yeah, I don't know.
besides his daddy issues with Dan? Like, we get it.
Mm-hmm.
We get that part, but we don't know the rest of his life.
Right.
Isn't that strange?
Mm-hmm.
Very strange that we know more about Nathan, I feel like, than we do about Lucas.
Yeah.
That's weird. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the roles reversed itself. Like Nathan became like center stage.
Yeah. And then next scene at Karen's cafe, Nikki asks Lucas if this is his after school job.
Aren't you
She knows,
surprised? Aren't you surprised that he took her there?
yeah, because I thought maybe Karen would find out. Yeah.
Well, like, what if Haley was still there? What if like Karen and Haley were doing inventory or something after
Mhm.
hours?
Yeah.
And like then there's Lucas and Nikki because it's like they both would have been like, hold up, what's going on?
Yeah. And my thing too is, as far as we know, Karen still doesn't know where he is because we didn't see Brooke or Peyton call Karen to tell, her like he
Heck
went
no, they were
somewhere with
getting
the
themselves
girl.
a drink. They were like, we're over him.
Yeah. So I thought maybe like, Haley or Karen would stay at the cafe in case if Lucas did drop by. So
Yeah, like
she,
somebody would stay at
yeah.
home and then
Mm-hmm.
somebody would, stay there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well,
Yeah, but
yeah,
didn't. Yeah,
he didn't,
apparently.
he left his phone, so it's
Mm-hmm.
not like he can call anybody.
Yeah.
Well, I guess he could. Wherever he went, he could use that phone, but I don't know. But yeah, you're right. Somebody
Payphone.
would have stayed back
Mm-hmm.
to watch him or to stay at
Yeah.
the. Yeah, that is weird. But
Mm-hmm.
and that's the thing is, I think it'd been very interesting for like one of them to still be there and be like, "What's going
Right.
on here?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Nikki knows that Lucas is still in high school,
And
and
she's
she
okay
says,
with that.
yeah, she
First of
likes them
all,
young.
first of all, we have no indication of how old this Nikki is.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let's be honest, we do know, but the truth is right now we don't know. And
Mm-hmm. Just over 18.
yeah, we're not supposed to know
Mm-hmm.
that she just is coming off as obviously older than 18 and
Mm-hmm.
that's a problem. And she likes them young, she says.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Cynthia,
Mm.
what's the problem I've always had with these shows?
About the adult going after the teenager.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And here we are.
Yep.
Oh, are you surprised that they used the name Nikki?
From like, what do you mean?
Okay. I'm gonna be honest, if I'm writing a show, if I'm creating a show, and I'm using the same place that a previous show was, like they filmed, I do not think that I, in a million years, would use same character names as them.
Right. Yeah.
Remember, Nikki?
Yeah. I mean, as far
The
as
good
we know,
Nikki? Okay, there's
mm-hmm.
there's the good Nikki, and then now in here there's the bad Nikki.
Yeah. As far as we don't know, as we know, we don't know if any of the writers from Dawson's Creek went on to One Tree Hill because we can't find
Okay,
specific names, but
but the creator knew that there was a show called Dawson's Creek that was filmed there. This is what I'm saying is, and even the network knew it was CW or
mm-hmm.
WB.
Yeah,
They knew that Dawson's Creek was filmed there too.
right.
It doesn't make any sense that anybody who gets the script doesn't say, "Hey, this person should be named something else."
Yeah, I think it's because she wasn't like a main character. She was just a temporary character
Which one?
for a
This
season.
Nikki or that Nikki?
Dawson's Creek Nikki. So
But
maybe that's
she
why.
But to me, she was a standout.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I don't know. I guess because she was only in some episodes for season 3. Um, it just I guess it didn't really matter that much. And this Nikki's pretty temporary too. So
This Nikki stands out too.
yeah, definitely. Yeah, but I don't
I don't
know.
know what you're talking. Both Nikki's to me stand out.
Yeah, I know I'm not saying standing out. I'm saying like just in the show, they're not really reoccurring characters. They're in there for like one plot line and then are never to be seen again. So
Well, I'm saying if Nikki would have came in season 2,
hmm
I feel like it would have been different. Like this Nikki. The fact that it's still season 1 and like One Tree Hill is still new to the audience.
hmm
You know what I mean? Like they haven't had a full year behind them where they can then use the same characters, use the same locations. You know what I mean? Like they
hmm
don't have that behind them yet. I'm surprised that they used the same name.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like once you have that footing, then you can do anything you want. But until that full year, I couldn't imagine doing it. Because yes, I do know they use Chris as when Dawson's Creek did what 2 times. It's like, but at that point, One Tree Hill was its own show.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? But right now, it's still season 1.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Nikki talks to Lucas about, things being right, things being wrong. It's not really that. It's just all gray. So then, they make up scenarios about the good and the bad.
I did like when Lucas said, you know, so basically, what's your story?
Mm-hmm.
And this is the thing. You're going to sleep with her and you don't even know anything about her.
Right.
Like, it's really weird because this is why I say like Nathan and Lucas have switched places because Lucas has now went to the dark side.
Mm-hmm.
He's just sleeping with people he doesn't even know. Where Nathan now doesn't do that.
Right.
This is why I love that I honestly love that they have switched places.
Hmm.
What?
Yeah, I know.
I do wonder how many people prefer Nathan over Lucas.
Probably a lot of people.
Because, like, yeah, when you start the show, you love Lucas.
Mm-hmm.
But then there's this turn.
Right.
And how does Lucas come back from this? Isn't for fans.
Mm-hmm.
Because now he's pitted the fans against Brooke and Peyton.
Yeah.
That there's teams. So it's like where Nathan hasn't done that.
Mm-hmm.
He's proved himself to be the better person for the rest
Right.
of the show. So it's
Mm-hmm.
like, where does Lucas go from here? I'm just saying.
Yeah. So to avoid, Lucas learning anything about her, she asks if he has any Tabasco sauce in the place, and he goes in the back to get it, but by the time he's back, she's gone.
Poof.
Yep.
She does some magic tricks.
Mm-hmm.
How
Back to the
does he
bar.
not know that the door that she left?
Does it have a bell on it? I don't
I
remember.
feel like it would.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it has. I feel like people have come in and it's made a sound.
Well, I didn't hear in this scene, so no.
Well, I don't think in this episode, but I think in previous ones it has.
Mm.
But anyway,
Yeah, I'm not. So we get back to the bar with Payne and Brooke. Brooke says, well, she looks around and she's looking at the great looking guys. And all she wants to do is smash their pretty little faces. So she's still a lot of anger over Lucas and Peyton that she's still sitting next to at the bar.
well, I mean, it just happened.
Yeah, I know. I'm just surprised she didn't like drink her drink and then go home or something and like leave Payne there. Well, we don't know who drove there, so it depends. But yeah, so then Payne laughs and tells her, um, so Brooke tells her not to ask what she's thinking when she's looking at her face. And then Brooke says with Lucas, she can understand what happened, especially given what he's probably up to tonight. Guys screw you over, but her and Payne were best friends, and she thought that was supposed to mean something. And Payne says it does. And then she tells Brooke she'll never know how sorry she is for making her question that. There was never a point through the whole thing that she wasn't her best friend. And then Brooke
Yeah,
says,
the minute
yeah,
the minute she wanted to sleep with him or
right.
tried to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Brooke says, thank you for nothing. And Payne says, it's hard to leave the glow of her love. She has to go. She's babysitter for Jake in the morning.
Yeah. Well, and then Brooke, of course, playing house with Jake Jakowski.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she doesn't waste any time. She did move pretty quickly from Lucas to Jake.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
I will say because I do like Lucas and Peyton that I didn't like that they made her act like she doesn't like Lucas because
Mm-hmm.
she does.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And if you really did like him, you wouldn't all of a sudden the next day just talk to Jake and be like, oh, this is something new.
Right.
Not if you still really truly like the person.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, I think it was more than like between Lucas and Peyton.
Right.
Neither one of them would just admit that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Payne says that it's a favor to babysit Jenny. And she asks Brooke if they're ever going to get past this. And Brooke says
Now,
she
why
doesn't
would
know.
she think? Now, why would she think that after like a week?
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
So annoying. Like it just happened.
Mm-hmm.
She has plenty of time that she can take and not speak to you.
Right.
I don't like that Peyton again is like, oh, I'm sorry. So forgive me.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to take more than that,
Right.
especially because Brooke was very invested.
Mm-hmm.
She needs time and she deserves the time. It's really annoying.
Right.
This is why I don't like that they made Peyton this way.
Mm-hmm.
This is why Brooke fans hate Peyton because she doesn't really take accountability. Yeah, she says 1 second in one breath, I'm sorry. But the next breath, she says, when are you going to forgive me?
Right.
How about never?
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have to.
Right.
So that's what is so annoying and where the Brooke fans, where I can see their point
Mm-hmm.
of there's no accountability.
Right. Yeah, so Brooke says she doesn't care. And then the guy sits down next to Brooke after Payne leaves, and Brooke
That's
laughs
like
and
when she
just
says
says no.
no.
And then Lucas gets home. Karen is waiting for him. He says he knows he's late and she doesn't deserve that. And he
Okay,
says,
then why, if she doesn't deserve that, then why did he come home late?
right. Yeah, so
But I did
that,
like that he said that he was sorry and stuff and
mm-hmm.
that he's been screwing up lately.
Mm-hmm.
But I did think it was weird that he said that he thought that he could join a team and deal with it all.
Right.
Because I'm like, but right from the start, though, they were, you know, like the guys weren't being nice to you. So it is weird that he thought he could just deal with it all. Because I'm like, they were doing some bad things to you.
Mm-hmm. And he says that ever since he left the river court, he's been a mess. He fought with her, his mom, Keith, and Haley, and he drove away two girls he cared about.
Uh, he cared about Brooke.
Right. Yeah.
Because that was my whole thing was if you cared about Brooke, you would have
Mm-hmm.
broken up with her a long time ago, before the accident, way before the accident. Again,
Right.
the minute you wanted to sleep with Peyton that night,
Mm-hmm.
it should have been over with you and Brooke.
Right.
But it didn't. It kept going.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Karen says that being a teenager is hard, but he has a lot of good things going on for him.
He
He
does.
says, yeah. And he tells Karen she's
Like
one of
what?
them. Like Karen, yeah. And he says that he thinks part of being a man is owning up to his mistakes. So he
I didn't
promises,
know. I didn't know he's a man yet.
right?
Hmm.
Yeah, so he promises he's going to do better. And
Now, don't you think that she should have punished him?
mm-hmm.
First of all, you know what one thing she didn't say?
What?
Where is your sling?
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because Brooke and Peyton had it.
Mm-hmm.
As a mother, wouldn't you be like, you left with your arm in a sling? Where
Right.
is it?
Mm-hmm.
I'd want to know. Like that was a missed opportunity. And he also should have been punished.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like he's supposed to be recovering, not out partying
Mm-hmm.
with God knows who. So it's just bothered me that Karen is turning into a different person than she was at the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of a sudden she's okay with him being out, and all of a sudden she's okay with him not recovering and just doing what he pleases.
I
He's
guess,
not
yeah.
18 yet. I don't like this Karen.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And she's accept his apology as a way of, making up for it. It doesn't
Yeah. Oh,
ground him.
so you apologize to me. Okay.
Yeah, so that was plan B.
There's no punishment for him being out. The
Mm-hmm.
problem is when you let him off the hook, he's going to think all he has to do next time is apologize to you.
Mm-hmm.
So then he's going to be out all night long, get into some trouble and be like, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Punish
Mm-hmm.
him
Right. Yeah,
like you
Keith.
would have done from the start.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Keith was more hard on him than Karen is.
I know. I wish he was in charge of him.
Mm-hmm.
It would have been funny and better and normal.
Yeah. So
Because
Karen calls.
Karen is just acting like Lucas's best friend now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because Karen says that that was Plan B, because Plan A was, she said, kicking his ass and grounding him for life. So yeah, like I
I
said,
like that part better.
yeah, she's just accepted his apology as enough. And then the next morning, Keith goes to see Dan at the beach house.
It's weird that you go to see to see Dan.
Mm-hmm.
But Dan was funny. Would you get lost?
Right.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
So.
and then of course they talk about the shop.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Keith says if he had any other way out, he would take it. And Dan asks why
Why are
he's
you
so
so
quick to
quick
think
to
the
think of the
worst.
worst?
Yeah.
Because you're Dan.
Right. Yeah, he's owned his own life, his whole life. So, but feel free to prove him wrong. So then Dan says his lawyers have looked over the contracts. Everything is there as they discussed. All it needs is his signature.
I mean, Keith needs to read it over first.
Right. Because, yeah, Dan just gave him the pen and we don't see him sign it, but obviously he did there. And
Like
then,
it's Dan. Why wouldn't you read it over?
right.
I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it makes no sense that you would just sign it given who he is.
Mm-hmm. And then at the cafe, Deb is still working there, and Karen tells her she's done a
Okay, this
beautiful
threw
job.
me off because I thought Deb was done after those 6 weeks. And then I thought she was just being generous and helping after when he had his car accident. Like I thought she was just being nice because Karen needed to be at the hospital, but she's still there.
Right. Yeah, I don't know.
I mean, is it because she needs income?
Yeah, probably. And just to keep her mind off of Nathan and Dan.
Mm. Um, but I mean, what did you think when Karen said that we should go into business together? Like you've done a good job.
Yeah, I was surprised about that. Because Karen's been doing it by herself this whole time. So I wouldn't think that she would, ever think of the idea, but I don't know. It's not like Deb's a
Well,
stranger either or somebody she just met.
I mean, it's kind of, I mean, especially she's the wife, soon to be ex of your,
Ex.
yeah, and father of
Mm-hmm.
your child.
Yeah.
Um, well, and given how Karen is so confident and independent, I thought it was weird too, because I'm like, it's not like they're starting a business together. She's
Mm-hmm.
had this business for so long.
Mm-hmm.
It is weird that all of a sudden she wants, and it's not like we're told she needs a business partner in order to
Mm-hmm.
survive.
Right.
So I thought
Yeah.
that was odd because I'm like, why?
I guess she just wants to keep the way business is going at this level because she knows it'll go back, not under, but just go back to the average way that it was when she was just running it alone.
Yeah, but according to Dan, she couldn't make a cup of coffee.
I think he might have just said that just to make her feel bad. Like it
Because
actually
remember,
wasn't
he said,
bad.
"Oh,
He just said that.
are you trying to ruin her business?"
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah, I
I'm
think he
like,
was just lying.
well, because I'm like, does she really suck at it? Because I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Deb says she's flattered, but she can't. In the past, when things got bad with Dan, she would use work as an excuse to get away from him. And Nathan was
Well,
always the one to suffer for it.
and I mean, I like that she said basically she needs to be home with Nathan, but also their situation. I like that Karen was straight up honest with her and said, "You need to tell Nathan the truth,
Mm-hmm.
like
Yeah.
whatever it is."
Yeah.
Well, someone needs to tell her to say that
Mm-hmm.
to him.
Yeah. Just then Haley walks in and says life is so unfair. They didn't end up getting the Sheryl Crow tickets from the auction the other night. And Deb asks Haley if she knows where Nathan is, and she says that she thinks he's still at the house, her house. And Deb looks to Karen and says she's going to talk to him without really actually saying her full sentence because she knows Karen knows what she means.
Mm-hmm.
And then Haley asks Karen how Lucas is, and Karen says she thinks he's going to be fine. And then Skills
goes to Lucas's house, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why? Like, Skills is being so nice.
Mm-hmm.
That was the thing, was like, there was no, I'm sorry. Skills is just coming over as if nothing happened.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't.
Yeah, well, Skills brought over the basketball that they both signed when they were younger. So they were gonna, have the dream of being on, Janet professionally, and so their signatures would, mean something, cost something one day. And he tells Lucas to hold on to it, help him keep him focused on that prize,
Mm-hmm.
and to always remember he has the guys. So they kind of just meet up in that moment, even though Lucas should have
Even
been
though
the one.
Lucas
Yeah.
should have been the one to make up.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That was my problem. I didn't like that Skills was the one to make up with him.
Right. And then Peyton gets to Jake's. She says, "Nice suit. Are they making him park cars?" It's a joke. And then she picks up Jenny and talks to her. And then Jake tells Peyton that he's sorry she couldn't meet his parents. They already took off for the wedding. His dad likes to get an early start. I think that was just an excuse to not have to cast a couple people to play his parents. Yeah.
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 Well, yeah, we haven't seen him so far, have we?
Mm-hmm. Nope. Yeah, so Jake says he wrote everything down when Jenny eats, sleeps, what toys she likes.
It was so adorable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he put down all the numbers that she could need,
Okay,
even his pager.
Even his pager, I was like, Jake has a pager?
Mm-hmm.
What does he need a pager for?
If something comes up with Jenny, if he's not home
He has a
with his
cell
parents.
phone.
Yeah, I guess it's quicker than to text. I don't know.
Like, I feel like people that should have pagers are people that have jobs.
Yeah, well, it was still kind of a thing back then. So,
Okay, but a teenager?
yeah, my brother had one when he was young.
Teenagers had cell phones, not pagers.
Yeah, well, they still had them, even if they had a cell phone. Pager is for the cell phone, so.
Weird, but okay. He's got a pager.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, he even put his cousin's number, who's getting married, on there.
Like the person that's getting married is going to answer their phone.
Right. Yeah, so if she needs anything, he'll be less than an hour away. And Payne says that they're going to be all right. And he just says he's like nervous because he never left anyone alone with her except for his parents before. And then Payne was joking, like, and you picked me. And he gets more nervous. So she just says she was just kidding and tells him to have fun at the wedding. And Jake tells Jenny he'll be back in a few hours and to be good. He thanks Payne and leaves.
Okay, and then at Whitey's porch, though,
Mm-hmm.
Lucas is there. I did like that he was apologizing to Coach.
Right. At least to somebody. I mean, he apologized to his
Mhm.
mom too, but he actually went to him on his own.
But what I thought was weird
Mm-hmm.
was that Whitey said, um, he said, if we lose a game or two along the way, then so be it. What?
Mm-hmm.
Like, you want to go to playoffs or whatever. That's what he called it. I'm just like, why would you want to lose a game or two?
Right.
Most coaches don't. And
Mm-hmm.
my thing is too, I thought they forfeited a game before. Remember when Nathan was going through his drug problem?
Well, they ended up winning that one after all, somehow. Like they still kept playing after he was taken to the hospital.
No, but remember he canceled practice and everything. I'm
Right. I don't
just
know.
so confused with the timeline of this.
I guess they didn't have practice or games at that time when he canceled practice.
Yeah, they have a game every week.
Yeah, I don't know, Brittany. I
Not
really don't.
according in Tree Hill though.
Mm-hmm.
Tree Hill you get what is it every other week then because
Mm-hmm.
normal life is not whenever.
Right. Yeah, so Wade just tells him his spot will be there when he's ready. But Lucas says they both know they need another shooter. That means he has to fill his spot. he's asking why he gives someone else a chance now. Yeah, so Lucas just says that's important to him. It's important to the rest of the team. And Lucas tells him thanks. And then White just tells Lucas to take care of himself. And then Lucas is playing video games in his room when Deb walks in and asks if they can talk. So she
So
finally
she
comes clean with
finally
him.
tells him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, at first I was a little on her side when
About what?
when she first said, "Well, you were away,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I left your dad." And
Mm-hmm.
then, but so I was on her side with that because it's like, okay, he wasn't home. But then when Nathan said, "I called you and told you
Mm-hmm.
how bad he was, and you were with some other guy," that's when it switched to I was on Nathan's side because I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
at first it's like, okay, you get why she left. Nathan wasn't home. But then when you find out that when Nathan was came back from camp, that he had called his mom and told her how bad he was, Dan
Mm-hmm.
was, and she didn't come home. It's like, then you aren't on her side anymore because it's like your priority should have been your son, and you should have
Right.
left your little boyfriend and come home to your son.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I
Like
think.
that's when it changed on me because I'm like, that's when you become bad because your son should always come first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think him calling Deb was forgotten in the Drama Queens episode because they all mentioned that like Nathan was blaming Deb for Dan's behavior that summer, even though she was with somebody that she loved or whatever. So I think they forgot that fact.
Well, I
Like
agree
they were
with
on her side.
Nathan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you only came home when your fling ended.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with that because, again, if the reason why she came home was because of Dan, she would have done it the first phone call.
Right.
So I'm sure it was when her fling ended because she would have been home then.
Right.
Because think about it. If your son calls you, you'll be there.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter how bad your relationship is with their father. You will be
Right.
there.
Mm-hmm.
So it bothered me. And again, if it was so bad, why wouldn't you want to take your son out of that life
Mm-hmm.
and divorce Dan then?
Right.
It was annoying because I was definitely on Nathan's side and I felt so bad for him that this is the way he's finding out too is basically Dan's blackmailing.
Mm-hmm.
And he finds out this way that when it happened, it wasn't the way he thought.
Right.
Oh, so the girls just totally missed it on Drama Queens.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I think they just forgot that fact. So, like, in a way, Depp did give Nathan to Dan, summer at least.
Yep. Well, after that, because eventually he
Hmm.
came home from camp.
Right. And then, yeah, so Depp said that's why she came home. Nathan,
Yeah, I said that. It was a fling.
right, yeah, I'm just going through my notes. He says that he doesn't want to be part of this family anymore and walks out, leaving Depp crying.
Eh, that was a problem. I was over her crying. I'm like, at this point, I don't care about your tears
Mm-hmm.
because after hearing Nathan, I'm
Mm-hmm.
siding with him.
Right. And then at Karen's cafe, Nathan tells Haley he doesn't remember feeling like this. Yeah, with his dad, but his mom abandoned him. He can't go back there and he can't live with his dad either. He's screwed. Haley says maybe not, there's another choice. So they did hint at that before, about him having another choice, but they haven't said what the choice is yet.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm surprised they kind of dragged it out that long. But then at Keith's garage, a man's taking the letters off of the sign that had said business for sale. Keith asks what he's doing, and the man introduces himself
I'm your
as
new
Matt.
boss.
Yeah. But that was funny how his name was Matt Perry,
Oh,
like
yeah.
almost like Matthew Perry. I don't know if maybe one of the writers were a fan of his and just kind of threw his name in there,
Yeah.
like that, maybe. But yeah, so Keith walks into the building of the garage and he asks Dan what he's doing. The business name was changed to Dan Scott Service Annex.
Of course it did.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure I'm not gonna lie, I'm sure it was in the contract that Keith signed that Keith didn't read.
Yep.
Because Dan isn't stupid. He would have put it in the contract.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Dan says Dan Scott is a brand name. They want to attract the right kind of
I
customers.
laughed when he said, Dan Scott is a brand name. I'm like, oh dear God, here we go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In your little town
Right.
that probably only has one dealership.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so Dan says Matt runs his service department, so technically Keith does fall under his jurisdiction. And Keith says technically he can kiss his ass and walks out. Doesn't
Well,
walk
and then
out.
and then he's like,
Not yet.
What did you think? It was gonna be a handout?
Right.
Remember at the beginning when Dan said, what? Like, I'm not gonna screw you over. And then here, I'm gonna screw you over. Exactly.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yep. Then he walks out. And at Jake's, Jenny won't stop crying. Payne tries using the keys like she did the first time she babysat her. And Jenny puts them in her mouth and Payne takes them out. So of course Jenny starts crying again. And
but of
Payne
course
gets
it works.
yeah, because she got the idea to the keys onto Jenny's mobile and it works. And then Jake gets home and Payne tells Jake that she has copies of her keys so he can keep them. And Payne is about to leave, but Jake says he can order a pizza and find a movie for them. It's the least he could do. And Payne says, okay, but no chick flicks. And then at the Scotts, Nathan walks into the living room where Deb is. He gives her the petition for emancipation from her and Dan. He says he spoke with
I
a
loved
lawyer.
it.
Yeah, who said he had a case. Yeah, so he'd be
Where's
living
he
on his
getting this
own.
money though?
Yeah, I know that's
For a
my
lawyer.
question. Right, yeah. Or to
Because
live somewhere.
I feel like given who Dan and Deb are,
Mm-hmm.
given who they are, I would think that they both would be like, I'm not giving you money for a lawyer.
Right. Maybe he gets an allowance that he saved up, maybe. That's the only way I can think of it.
That's a big allowance.
Yeah, I know. You never know. They probably
Maybe
could have started.
Haley's helping because she has a job.
Yeah, but I can't imagine it'd be that much.
Yeah, but maybe she saved up. Well, the concert tickets, maybe she saved up for that she's given to Nathan.
Maybe, yeah. Well, she
I don't
ended
know.
up
I just
losing
don't
them.
know.
She ended
I
up
just don't
losing
know
the
where she's
auction.
getting. Yeah, but I just don't know where she's getting or where he's getting this money for a lawyer.
Yeah. But I liked how he told Deb, like, how does it feel to be abandoned? You know?
He was good. I was like, Nathan. Good job, Nathan. Like, I'm loving this, Nathan.
Yeah. And now Lucas shows up at Brooke's house. He tells Brooke he knows that she doesn't have any reason to listen to him. He tries closing the door, but he stops it. So he's, not like Peyton, he's not understanding that Brooke doesn't want to talk to either one of them. He continues saying that he's not asking for forgiveness. He just wants her to know that he's sorry for what he did.
But he's
He's already said
not.
that. And he already said that. So,
But he's not.
yeah, it's not like saying again it's going to change anything.
It's your actions that will change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not your words.
So Brooke asks, does the entire time that they were dating, she felt inferior to him. He's just like every guy on the planet. He's a liar and a cheater. And Lucas says she's right. He lied to her and there's no excuse for that. And Brooke says, why doesn't he tell her that to the girl he hooked up with last night? And then she tosses the sling that he left at the bar at him. As for excuses, he doesn't owe her any. She's not his girlfriend. And from here on out, she's not his friend either. And she slams the door in his face.
Good job.
Yeah. It was nice of her to even, bother
Talk to him.
Well, that, and also, take the sling from the bar and then wait to give it to him instead of just like throwing it away or just leaving it at the bar, So she's still being nice even though he doesn't deserve it.
Well, she is being nice. She talked to him.
And then for the next scene, Cheryl Coral walks into the cafe. She asks for a cup of coffee. Haley said they were closed until she sees Cheryl, and then she says they are so open. And she's stuttering because she's nervous, and they can get her a cup of coffee. And
I thought it was funny when Nathan said, "Haley, let it go."
Yeah, she's just saying she's a huge fan, and it killed her to miss the concert. And then Haley, even after all that, Haley said that you can have a cup of coffee, per song. So sure enough, Cheryl and another guitar player perform a song. Haley says no one's going to believe them about this when they tell them, and Nathan says it can solve that. So he takes out his cell phone and takes a picture with Haley and Cheryl in the background. And then Deb goes to see Dan at the beach house to tell him Nathan is leaving them. He hands him the petition. Deb says she doesn't blame him.
It was weird because like Dan didn't really question too much that Deb's walking through the door.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
given who he is, I feel like he would be like, get out, like just, saying stuff to her.
Right.
Instead of, what is it? It was just kind of a weird tone for Dan.
Mm-hmm.
But it was funny because he's leaving us.
Yeah.
It's great.
Mm-hmm. And then we see clips of Brooke laying in bed and Lucas checking Payne's website for a webcam. That says the webcam is offline, server not responding. We see the finished drawing Payne was working on earlier on her desk with her computer screen with the window titled My Camera with the screen saying there's no camera and something else I couldn't read after that. And then we go back to the cafe where Cheryl is still playing. She's singing the title, the song that's the same as this episode title. The first cut is the deepest. And then we go
By
to
the way,
Jake's.
good song.
Yeah. And then we go to Jake's where he's cleaning up and finds a sketch Payne had drawn of Jenny. He looks over at her as she's sleeping. The doorbell rings, thinking it's Peyton, so he opens it only to find Nikki.
Nikki.
Yeah, his
Hi,
smile
Jake.
instant.
Oh
Yeah.
my God. It was like chills. Hi, Jake.
Mm-hmm.
How's
Yeah,
my daughter?
Mm-hmm. And his smile instantly fades when he sees her. Yeah. So that was the
So I
big
was surprised
secret.
that it was this episode. Like I didn't remember when it was introduced that Nikki
Mhm.
was his ex.
Right.
Because in the future, there's an episode that I thought they didn't really know who Nikki was yet. The party, Nathan's house. Remember Nikki and Peyton get into it, but I just didn't realize.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
I guess I forgot that she was introduced this episode.
Right. Yeah.
So for me, my high was Nathan giving his mom the papers.
Mm-hmm. Me
I
too.
love that. No, I also love another bonus, Cheryl Crow performing. I love
Mhm.
her.
Yeah.
And the whole storyline of Lucas and Nikki. I do not like her.
Mm-hmm.
What's yours?
Yeah, my same high was about Nathan giving Deb the emancipation letters or papers. And the low was Keith realizing that Dan screwed him over, like always, and took over his shop on his own. And then rating?
I'd rate this a 7.5.
Yeah,
What
me
about you?
too. Yeah, same.
And then who's your best and worst?
My worst was Lucas because he took off without telling anybody where he was. And then he tried apologizing for Brooke, even though there's nothing else he could say. And he didn't, respect that she didn't want to talk to him, even after she tried closing the door in his face. And then he did the whole thing with Nikki too. So just everything he basically did in this episode. And then my best is Brooke. Like I said, she was nice enough to figure out where he would be, going with Peyton. She didn't want to see either one of them, but she was going there just to be nice because that's the kind of person she is. And then, she was the one that gave him his sling back to, like I said before. So she was still being a decent human being to Lucas and Peyton, Lucas more, but neither one deserved it. So, yours?
So yes, for me, definitely the worst was Lucas. I did not like the way he was treating Skills,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I forgot about
leaving
that.
without telling his mom,
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah,
I
everything that
just
he did. Yeah.
didn't like him. Yeah, and then again, he is still acting like he's the victim.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't like any of that. So he was definitely the worst. And then for me, yes, I'm actually going to go with Brooke the best because she could have went to the bar by herself. She didn't have to go because think about it, that means she's in the car with Peyton.
Mm-hmm.
So she didn't have to do that.
Well, I
She
think
didn't have to.
they went in
What?
separate cars because Payne left early. So,
I thought they went together.
Well, it seemed that way, but then Peyton left early, so how did Brooke get home if that was the case? Yeah.
I don't know.
So
But
I think they took their own cars.
it was just weird, and she did that. And honestly, she could have just called Karen and said he might be at this bar. She actually didn't have to go to the bar.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, if it were me, I probably would not have went to the bar because you don't want to see him hook up with somebody else. So she could have just told Karen.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end, she could have slammed the door right in Lucas's face. She didn't even have to give him the time of day.
Mm-hmm.
But yet she did.
Yep.
It's like they're just putting Brooke through torture with these two right now. Like, let's give her scenes to torture her.
Mm-hmm.
So she was the best. I would say the second best would have been Karen. Because she told Keith she was gonna pay for the medical expenses
Mm-hmm.
after because she didn't want him to go to sell it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And she was so worried about Lucas that she was gonna go to anybody to try to find him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, as she should, but I liked Karen. And plus she was being nice to Deb and everything. So, but yes, overall I would say Brooke. And then what's the next episode?
Episode 17, Spirit of the Night.
Ooh. All right. Thanks for listening.
Yep, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for listening to this episode of Duo Chat. If you want to chime in with your opinion about the episode and the show we discussed, you can email us at duochatpodcast@gmail.com. And to keep up with updates about the podcast, you can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and subscribe to our channel on YouTube at Duo Chat Podcast. And give us a review wherever you listen to podcasts. We would appreciate it.